believe it? The zombie apocalypse started like 2 days ago, and I still get goddamn junk mail. Internet's out. Power grid will be down in a few days. You'll soon hear generators humming everywhere. Traffic will be down to nil soon. But hang on, we'll get through it. Last man in, make sure that blackout curtain is fully closed. Everybody in? Okay, I think we can switch to white light. Now that everybody's in and we're settled down, we can operate in white light. Let me welcome you to the 13th Canadian Zippers Unit. This is the Zombie Partisans, Rangers, and Scouts Unit. Brand new unit, and we'd like to first of all say thank you for volunteering to do service. What's that, Kevin? Oh, what happened to the first 12 units? Well, units 1 through 11, unfortunately, didn't succeed. They have already been consumed by the zombie opposing forces. Unit 12, they've been redeployed to the National Capital Region. Apparently, our government infrastructure is under attack from a mean orange cat. And that attack has brought about an outbreak of camel toe and bird flu in that area. The 12th unit is there, providing aid to civil power until further notice. Meanwhile, we're going to carry on with the training, getting you guys ready to help us in the fight against the zombies. Today's lesson is Zap 'em. Zombie Apocalypse Performance Enhancing Measurements. I am your instructor, 9. The duration of this class is approximately 20 minutes or as long as it takes. Stop asking, Kevin. Notable quote: you cannot improve what you do not measure. This is from one of the big brain guys in business, Peter Druckers. And that's what this is about. We want to talk to you and explain to you the difference between performance-oriented training and goal-oriented training and help you getting ready for what we're going to be up against in the future. Now let's get on with it. So more specifically, what exactly is ZAPM, the Zombie Apocalypse Performance Enhancing Measurement System? It is based on the United States Practical Shooting Association hit factor equation, and that equation is score divided by time, and they use it in competition. It is a modification of that equation and assigns a numerical value to individual performance by measuring 3 key performance indicators, thereby allowing the user to focus on performance as opposed to goal. That's the whole point of it. So the equation that we use measures 3 key performance indicators: time, distance, and accuracy. Not to be confused with time, distance, cover, the combat triad spoken about by Rob Leatham. We're using time, distance, and accuracy in the formula that we're using for ZAPM. Now, what does the formula look like? It's raw score minus your penalties divided by time equals performance indicator number. Yeah, originally I thought it would call it performance indicator score, but that would create an acronym of PIS, and I've decided that we'll use performance indicator number. It's much more polite to call it a PIN. In condensed version, the formula looks like this: RS minus P divided by T equals PIN. Now, how do we get the numbers for raw score? Raw score is simply the number of hits on the target times the distance. That's how you get the number for raw score. The penalties is the number of misses times the distance to the target. That gives you the number of your penalty points. The time, okay, it's measured time, and we'll talk about how to do that. Time is measured to hundredths of a second if possible. You take raw score minus your penalties, divide that by your time, and you will get a performance indicator number. The performance indicator number is a number that increases or decreases based on key changes of one of the key performance indicators: time, distance, or accuracy. Note, It's the change of the pin number that identifies the increase or decrease of performance. It's the change of the pin number, okay, that identifies an increase or decrease of performance. Clear as mud? So how can you use the formula ZAPM? Well, first off, you have to come up with a goal. And in this case, this is an example drill. We'll call it the Jedi drill or challenge, and it's based on 1 shot per second model. That's our goal, 1 shot per second model. In this case, we're going to use a standard distance of 1 meter. I've charted it out so you can see the effects of how this program goes. The target is a standard target. I prefer the AAA targets. You can use whatever you want, but it is a standard target throughout. There is no score value assigned to the target other than the distance times the number of hits. That's how you get your raw score. In this case, we set up our target at 1 meter. Our goal is 1 shot per second. When we first start, we may not be that good. We'll have a starting zone. So let's say our first draw and shoot from the holster with a positive hit was 2 seconds. In the math formula then, your raw score, 1, minus your penalties, which would be 0 because you did not miss, divided by your time, 2 seconds, would equal a pin number of 0.5. Now that's a pretty easy goal to achieve at that extremely short distance. Remember, this is an example. At that same distance, 1 meter, you're going to continue working on it because you want to improve. And the only way you can improve is to recognize that you can change something like the speed of your draw or the speed of your shot. Don't get wrapped up in the pin number. It's not the single number that's critical. It's having multiple numbers so you can recognize the change. For example, do the same drill again, get 1 hit, no penalties, but it only took 1.5 seconds this time. Your pin number will change to 0.6. It starts to get bigger. Do the same drill again at the same distance, still a good hit, no misses, but you did it in 1.25 seconds. The pin number is now 0.8. The goal we had, 1 and 1, mathematically, 1 good hit, no penalties, 1 second, your pin number is now 1. You have achieved your outline, your training goal in that sense, but you know that's not the end for you. You know you can do better, so you keep training. In your next go around, you get to a point where you can fire 1 shot and get 1 hit, no penalties at 0.75. Now your pin number is 1.3. Yes, you've exceeded the goal of 1 shot per second, but what we're catching, what we're watching is the trend in the number changes. The trend in the number changes. As long as the pin number is getting bigger, we are improving. If it starts getting smaller, we are no longer improving. And that's where we'll change the way we approach the training we're doing. The holy grail of the 1 shot from the holster drill is a half second. Regardless of the distance you choose, that's kind of like the magic number all the John Wick and Jane Waynes want to have in their world. So let's set it at that. Your distance is 1 meter. You fire 1 shot from the holster. You did it in 1/2 a second with no penalties. Your pin number is now 2. Pretty good number based on that scale right there. You keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. You repeat the drill, but your pin number does not change or changes very little. That's the indicator that you have reached peak performance. That's what we're looking for. How do we find peak performance? That's what this system does. Allows you to identify where you've reached peak performance. And in some cases, it allows you to look at what you're doing and change what you need to change in order to get to peak performance. Now, one of the things I like to do is apply it to real life scenarios. In 1865, William James Hickok, aka Wild Bill Hickok, gained fame and notoriety because of a quick draw duel against a man by the name of Davis Tutt, in which He killed Davis Tutt with one shot from the holster at 70 yards. Now, if I build a drill based on that, 70 yards, and you can fire one shot and not miss the target, you would get 70 points as a raw score. No penalties. Now, they didn't say how long Wild Bill took to set up and make the shot. I'm going to put it in a reasonable perspective and say, let's use 10 seconds. Say that you could do it in 10 seconds and you think you're Wild Bill, then your score would be 7. Your pin number would be 7. But it doesn't tell you if you're getting better or worse because it's only a single number. Does that make sense to everybody? Just remember that it is the change in the pin number that we are looking for, not the specific number. The target has to be standard, okay? Understand the target never changes, okay? We use the AAA target a lot in the training we do. It's easy, it's convenient, it's not expensive. This is an example of a AAA target, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Yeah, you know what? You don't have to spend a whole lot of money. You can get them anywhere. Okay, steal them out of your wife's printer if you have to. So, a quick review of the equation. The equation is raw score minus penalty divided by time equals your pin number. Raw score minus your penalties divided by your time equals your pin number. The target is not a variable in the equation. It always stays the same. Its value as a score, the target, whatever you choose it to be, the value of its score changes based on the distance you are from it when you're shooting the drill. But its size, shape, and basic geographics does not change. The target does not change. The score, the value, the score of the target is based on the distance to it. You also have to pick your own goals. You have to design your own format for whatever it is that you're training for. Your goal can be unachievable, although we'd prefer it to be a little bit more reasonable. You need a goal to design your program of training, hence why I brought in and shown the Wild Bill Hickok 70-yard famous duel. You may never achieve your goal. You may never. It's okay. You may achieve your goal and go, yay, okay? And then you may exceed your goal. Just remember, you are seeking peak performance. You won't know what your peak performance is until you get there, when the number stops changing. What happens if you achieve peak performance? Remember, the target never changes. If you reach your goal but not your peak performance, increase the distance or go faster, because you're still not there. You still haven't found where the number stops changing. We're going to continue to use that drill goal that we made, the Jedi one, still using the 1 shot per second drill. Here's what happens. If you're at 1 meter, you draw and fire, 1 shot, get a good hit, no penalties. You're at 0.75 seconds for time. You get 1.3 as your pin number. You do it again, you get 1 hit, no penalties. You're down to the holy grail of draws, half seconds. Your pin number is 2. You've reduced your time. Your pin number has gone up, but now it stays here. You repeat it, you repeat it, you repeat it, and you're staying in the 2 zone. Then you realize you've reached peak performance. Move the target. Okay, in this case, we moved it back to 3 meters. The target value now is, if you fire 1 shot, you would get 3 points. If it's more shots in your drill, if you design more shots, the points are distance to the target times the number of hits. We're staying with the Jedi drill, so this is still 1 hit equals 3 points. No penalties. you did it in 1 second, you would slow down a little bit because the target's a little farther away. You get a pin number of 3. But you know you can do better. You keep working at it. You get 1 hit at 3 meters, no misses. You get a 0.75 time, your pin number goes to 4. Repeat the process again, you get to the 5 zone, the holy grail half-second draw. Your pin number is going to be 6. Notice pin number continues to get bigger. If it stops changing significantly, if it's not getting bigger, okay, you realize you've reached peak performance. If it starts getting smaller, you're probably overtraining. Get to this point where the pin number is not changing, you want to move the target back. We go to 5 meters. Naturally, you're going to slow down a bit. Your first draw time would have been maybe 1.5. You get 5 points for that 1 hit. No penalties. 1.5 gives you a pin number of 3.3. You think, oh, I can still do better. It's not that far. 5 points, 1.25. Your pin number is now 4. You're like, okay, I can push it a little further. I can be a little better. You get 1 hit at 5 meters. You get 5 points, no penalties. You did it in 1 second. Now we have achieved our training goal there. 1 second, 1 shot. Okay, the number becomes 5. And then if you're at that point where the number is no longer changing, then you're going to do something again like move the target back. If you can exceed that, you just keep going like we did on the 1 second one. Does that make sense? Now let's be realistic. Not even Bill Hickok would admit that the goal of 1 second, 1 shot at 70 yards, okay, would be reasonable. Okay? Recognize your peak performance when the pin number no longer changes or no longer changes drastically, knowing that if it's going up, your performance is getting better. If it's going down, your performance is getting worse. Just remember, this is performance-oriented training, not goal-oriented training. You still need to have a goal to build and design your training drills. Now, in ZAPM, although maintaining accuracy while increasing distance and or speed will improve your performance indicator, misses have a significantly opposite effect. Okay, it's like collateral damage or losing the gunfight. This is how it reflects. ZAPM as a tool inspires a performance balance. A performance balance. Speed and accuracy management. SPAM. Okay? A performance balance by significantly penalizing disregard of that principle. If you disregard that principle, you'll turn into a sap, someone who sprays and prays. Do not trade your spam for being a sap. Okay? Speed and accuracy management is not replaced by spray and pray because it is significantly penalized in the misses. A real-life example of that is a famous gunfight known as the 4 dead in 5 seconds gunfight. In 1881, Sheriff Dallas Studenmeyer was in a gunfight and became famous for it. That's why it's called 4 dead in 5 seconds, because he appropriately eliminated 5 adversaries, or 4 adversaries, I should say, in 5 seconds. The unfortunate part is one of those adversaries was not an adversary, it was an innocent. The other thing is, it was 1881. Chances are he was using an 1873 Colt Peacemaker, which would have been loaded with 5 rounds. So I can surmise or speculate in this drill that this is a 5-shot drill in 5 seconds. You can use a single target, or you could use 5 targets the same to design your drill. Either or doesn't matter. Let's look at it from how the misses would penalize your score. If we start the distance at 5 meters, you fire 5 shots, you get all 5 hits, you get 25 points. 5 times 5 is 25. You had no misses, you would have got a 0. And if you did it in 5 seconds, you would have a pin score of 5. Now, let's just say you're the Studenmeyer guy. You're at 5 meters. You fired 5 shots, but one of them was a miss because there's only 4 dead. You would have got 20 points for your hits on target. Your penalty then would be your miss times the distance. So your penalty would be -5. against your time of 5 seconds, that now gives you a pin number of 3. That's a significant change in the pin number going down. It's considered getting worse because you missed the target, meaning that you were either going too fast or doing something else wrong. Now, what happens if you miss the target twice? Because you're in spray and pray mode. At 5 meters, you would have had 3 hits giving you a point score of 15. Your penalties, 2 misses, would mean minus 10 points. That means your points overall would be 5. Your raw score corrected would be 5. Divided by your time, 5 seconds, gives you a pin number of 1. See how quickly the number declines when you start throwing away the points. Let's go right to the limit. 5 yards, 5 meters. You have missed 3 times. You got lucky and got 2 hits. You would have gained 10 points. But those 3 misses would add up to a minus 15 for your penalty. That means your corrected score would now be negative 5. Negative 5 divided by 5 is negative 1 as your pin score. A negative pin score. Yes, you can get a negative score. In competition, if you were to use this scoring model in competition, it helps determine placement when you're sorting out a large number of competitors. It's like, okay, if you get a negative score, chances are you're going to be one of the first place losers. In real life, I look at the negative score as this could probably be somebody's in a pine box. Note that the concept of getting faster without maintaining accuracy. Don't sacrifice your speed and accuracy management and become a SAP, okay, a spray and pray person. Is that clear as mud to everybody how the program correctly punishes a divergence from performance balance? We want to review the formula one more time, okay? Zap them. The formula is raw score minus your penalties divided by your time equals the pin number. Okay, the pin number. Now, let's look at the system overall and how it reflects and what we were hoping to achieve when we designed it. Raw score minus pin divided by time, or minus penalties divided by time equals pin. The pros of this system are this. It's performance-oriented, not goal-oriented, although you still need to have a goal to design your training exercise. It's very simple and easy to use. You don't need to be a big brain like a Gazoo in order to figure out this math formula. Even an Air Force guy could figure it out with a pencil and a paper. An infantry guy might need a calculator. And Greg, you might actually have to take your boots off. The simplified targets. It keeps the cost down. You don't have to go out and buy special IPSC or IDPA or USPS or you don't have to buy special targets. Just understand, once you select the target for the drill, the target never changes. The score value of the target does with the increase or decrease in distance. Helps keep the cost down by standardizing general use targets. It can be used by individuals or a group for training. There is no limit to that. It's also not sport specific. This is not geared specifically to USPSA, IPSC, IDPA, Cowboy Action, Mommy Daddy 3-gun, whatever it is as a sport specific that is out there. This is not built for that specific sport. You can use it to train for all of them. It is also, in that sense, not equipment specific. You don't have to have the latest and greatest high-speed, low-drag, modern-day laser blaster. You could do this training even with your cap and ball revolver of 1858 Navy type. For those that don't like competition, you can use to compete against yourself. It's a very good tool for that. Or if you're in a place where you don't have access to competitions like IPSC, IDPA, Cowboy Action, or there's none of that, or the ranges where you train don't have any allowance for that, this pretty much will allow you to fit into that as long as the range allows you to use a holster. And if necessary, get the required qualifications to do so where the rules apply to you. Record keeping is easy, and I'm going to show you an example of that next before we finish up. And it is, in my mind, the perfect tool for the AAA ideology. The cons of this, it is best achieved using a shot timer. And I say a shot timer, this is what we're talking about, a shot timer. This is an Are You Ready shot timer. Been using these for a long time. You don't have to have a shot timer. You could get away, if you're kind of technically oriented, with, say, an app on your phone, like a stopwatch app that has a start and stop buzzer. And with someone's help, you could set it so that you're actually gross measuring time, and you could still use this system. It is best achieved, though, if you use a shot timer. Shop for one. Find the cheapest one you need, because you only need the basic ability of measuring the time from the time the start buzzer goes till when the last shot is fired. I'm not going to recommend it. You can go and look for your own. There's also apps available that you can get from the Play Store, like Splits or something like that. I don't know what the costs are. I haven't used any of them yet. I've monkeyed with Splits a little bit, but they will function just as well. Okay. In that aspect, let's talk about record keeping. All right, so we can keep your costs down in the record keeping too. I'm going to tell you, here's how simple it is. I've built a model for you based on if I was going to use this for a new sport or new skill. So I went to the dollar store and I got me one of these $1 books. Okay. That's right. It's a $1 book. It's a little journal book. It's easy. Note I wrote zap 'em on the very top. Okay. Yeah. And then inside the cover, the first thing I put in was I wrote down the formula. RS minus P divided by T equals pin. Then in the page, and I'll flip and show you in large scale, I wrote down zap 'em drill number 1. I put the performance standards in there. I did a little chart so I could record time and do the math. And then further in, I could do long-term scorekeeping by building in a table where I could put in dates and scores. Costs a whole $1 for the book. You don't have to get the pink one, by the way, although I'm pretty sure George likes that one. What does it look like? A little bit bigger. So this is how I designed that first record for just an example. Long-term and short-term record. Short-term record, zap 'em drill number 1 is written at the top of the page. I've written in my training objective, or my goal, is perfect one-shot holster draw in 1 second. Okay? Pin would be 1 for that. The standard would be shot at 3 meters, 1 shot on a AAA target. Then I wrote in performance. Step 1, load and safely holster your handgun at 3 meters distance. Step 2, assume the surrender position. I put this in so I knew to do that every time, that everything would be the same, drill after drill after drill. On the start beep, draw and fire 1 shot. Okay, and then record the pin. Down here you'll see I'll be able to write in the distance, the score I got, if I got any penalties, what my corrected score would be based on the math formula, the time, and then the achieved pin. Then I can go, after I've done a bunch of that on the day, I can go and say, at the end of the day, my best pin time on the 2nd of February, 2025, okay, in the drill, number 1, was 1.6. And then when I go back and train some more, I can record that on another. Maybe my best time on that day will be less, and I can keep notes in the book to say, this is what happened. I was shooting, and then my holster fell apart, or the target blew off, or I was just having a bad day. You can put it all in that $1 notebook and keep track, and then you can look over a longer period of time and say, I'm getting better or I'm getting worse. And then you can question why. Does that make sense to everybody? That's just an example of an easy-to-do record-keeping program for a whole book. Okay, you can get it at Dollar Tree, Dollarama, Looney Tooney, wherever you can get those books. Okay, and finalize this up in conclusion. Zap 'em Zombie Apocalypse Performance Enhancing Measurement Tool is a training aid. What it needs from you is commitment and self-discipline to set it up and work with it. And what it does, okay, it allows you to prepare for the challenges you will face fighting the foot-dragging, brain-eating zombie forces in the future. Realistically, if you do the commitment and self-discipline and follow through with it, we are sure you can achieve the Bruce Lee equivalent of mastery of this prominent Western martial art. Remember this: any gun, anywhere, anytime. Now, that concludes our session. We'll have another training session. When or where or what, I don't know. Not yet. But this ends it up for now. And with this, I'd like to say you need to get out there and zap them. And we're done. We can switch to red light and you can go on your merry way. Okay, you can open the blackout curtains now and head out on your way. And don't forget, zap them.